I've just bought one of the cheapest Range Rovers in the country for £1,250. And I know some of you will be thinking, why have you bought that? You've already got a 2019 model Range Rover. Why do you want to drive an old, cheap, high mileage Range Rover? Well, let me explain. Well, this is here to replace my BMW 7 Series, which was my daily work car. And I thought it'd be great for you guys to see what it's like to own an old Range Rover. So let's get on with today's video and let me explain the specifics of why I've got this Range Rover, how it came about and the plans with this car on the channel. Let's get on with the video. So let me give you a quick overview of the condition of this big old Range Rover. So it's not in perfect condition. It is a 2007 car with around 120 odd thousand miles, and it has got some wounds along the car. So we'll start down here. Bumper, big old car, you're going to expect to see things like this. So we've got light scuffs on the corner of the bumpers. Going into the wing, I think this scratch may be able to come out with a bit of T-cut or just sanding it down and then buffing it back up. Driver's door, it doesn't look too bad. There is a light scratch going down, but that will definitely come out with a bit of T-cut. The A-pillar trims as well, they have started to fade. There's not really much you can do. You could probably get these painted if you really wanted to, but this is a cheap work car, so I'm not going to be concerned about things like that. Going down the rest of the side over here, you can see it is in pretty good condition. 20-inch wheels as well, and the best thing about it, we've got Pirelli Scorpion tyres. Scorpion tyres are what we see on the newer Range Rovers as well. Fantastic tyres, especially in the snow, they are absolutely amazing. Going around the back, again on the corner of the bumper, we can see some more damage, typical on a car which is so big. We've got a tow bar as well. To be honest, every Range Rover at some point has probably been used as a towing vehicle because their towing abilities is phenomenal. I don't know what the specifics are, but I think it's something like it can pull 3 times its weight or something like that anyway. I'm not going to be doing any towing, but I guess it protects the rear end to some extent as well. Now, down on the passenger side, everything does look very good, apart from we're starting to get some rust on the rear quarter over here. Now, these L322s can suffer with a lot of rust. Predominantly, it starts over here, and you can see there is a little bit of surface rust starting to build up. However, when you open the door, you would see in the inner section if it is absolutely rotten. However, on this car, it's not too bad yet, but it's something which I will need to look at in the future. The side skirt down here, it's damaged, it's bent. So if I can get this bent back into place, that would be ideal. But if not, I'll probably look to get this replaced because I do like the beefy look of those side steps. But overall, from the exterior, you can see it isn't in bad condition. Of course, it's got marks across the car, but it's a Range Rover, it's a work car, it's 2007. You're not going to expect this to be in pristine condition, and this is a car which is going to get used and abused. So we're not looking for a garage queen here. So let's check out the interior of the Range Rover, and on first glance, it actually is in pretty good condition. Yes, it does need a deep clean. You can see, you know, the color on the seats is a lot darker than what it should be, but other than a little bit of cracking on the bolsters, it is in pretty good condition. One of the things which I like is we have got the original mats in the car, both in the front and the rear, and I've actually got in the boot the original rubber Range Rover mats as well, so it's nice to see some originality on a car of this age. But even down the passenger side, getting a good look, you can see it is in pretty good condition. Just needs to get a deep clean done, more so around all these little bits around the cup holders, the center console. It's just not been cleaned properly in a little while, but the type of car this is, you don't know what it could be used for. It could be a farmer's vehicle, it could be someone's work car, and at this price point, I'm not expecting it to be in pristine condition. We have got a sunroof as well, and speaking of the sun, one of the things I do love about Range Rovers is the sun visors. You get your normal sun visor as you'd expect, but if you just pull this open, you swing that one this way, you've still got your sun visor for this one as well. So you don't need to faff around with sun visors because Range Rovers come with 2. Another nice touch on this car is the trims inside. So we've got a gloss black piano sort of finish all over there. We've got them on the door cards as well, around the center console. It really goes well with the lighter interior. I think they call this Oxford, but I'm not 100% sure. And it's got the black piping around the leather seats as well, which is just such a nice touch on these cars. But that's the front. Let me show you the rears. So the rears do look absolutely fantastic. They genuinely look like they've not been used a great deal over the years. Very minimal wear across all of the leather. It just needs a good clean. You can almost see that beneath this layer of grime, these seats are going to be in amazing condition. And that is something which we are going to get done to this car. I am going to drop it off to my local valeters just for them to spruce it up a little bit. And then in the future, I probably will look to get a proper detail done to this car. Even the floor mats down here, you can see they are in very, very good condition. Underneath as well, the carpet has minimal wear, just a bit of dirt and grime around the console over there. This car is also spec'd with the Harman Kardon Logic 7 sound system as well. And surprisingly, for a car from 2007, it's not too bad. But that gives you an overview of how the car is looking in its current state. Of course, it is a work car for me. I'm not going to be looking to make this a garage queen car, but I do want to clean up that interior, and I would like to get the bodywork detailed at some point, because a black Range Rover with all the swells removed is going to look fantastic. And I will also like to get rid of the tints. I'm not a big fan of those on this Range Rover, but we'll get more into the ownership stuff when we go for a drive. So let's jump in the car now. Guys, just before we get into today's video, I just wanted to remind you that I am going to be giving away a Mini Cooper for free to one of you viewers. This is not a scam, it is absolutely free, no strings attached. And if you do want to participate, I'm going to put a link in the description below with a video on all of the details, how you can take part, how you can enter, and when I'm going to be giving away this Mini Cooper for free. But for now, let's get into this Range Rover video. So why the need for me to buy another Range Rover? Well, as I touched on earlier, I have now sold my BMW 7 Series, which was my daily work car. It was ideal for me because it had a lot of space, not just for me, but just for throwing stuff into the boot. You know, being a work car, being in the car business, you do end up needing the space, picking up car parts or whatever it may be. It's very ideal and practical for me to have a big car. And I'm a big fan of Range Rovers. I've always said that on the channel. I love Range Rovers, but I've never had one from this era, like an L322. And growing up, I always used to like these cars. Range Rovers always had something about them. And as it was time to get rid of my 7 Series, I thought, why don't I look at getting an L322 for the channel to show you all what it's like to really own an old Range Rover, and is it going to be a disaster? So I'm taking that chance, I'm taking that risk. But why did I buy this specific car? What was it that stood out to me and made me want to take a risk of buying it online from the auction, you know, without seeing it, because it's a completely blind purchase? Well, let's start with the ownership. The car is a 4-owner car, and when I'd done a HPI check prior to bidding on it, I could see that the first owner had it for 2 years, the second owner had it for 7 years, the third owner had it for 6 years, and the last owner, which did make me feel a bit suspect, they only had it for 9 months, which could mean it's a problematic car, they wanted to get rid of it, and it was sold to We Buy Any Car. Again, an easy way out if your car has got, you know, little niggly faults which won't get picked up on when you go to show it to them. So I had a little bit of suspicion, but because of the long-term ownership prior to that, I thought this is probably going to be a good Range Rover. You know, someone who's owned this car from 2009 would have paid top money for it, and I'm going to come on to some of the paperwork very, very shortly. And again, someone who bought this car in 2017 would have still paid a reasonable amount for this car. And when I did do the HPI check, the app I used sometimes can show you if this car was previously advertised, and this car was 10 months ago. This car was advertised for, I think it was £5,000. So I thought if this car was for sale for £5,000 a matter of, you know, 10 months ago, the car should have been in a good standard. So that's one of the reasons why I like this car. It was listed with service history as well. 9 services stamped, it said, up until 2017. And I know you're going to be thinking, well, you know, we're in 2024, it hasn't been serviced in 7 years. I had a feeling that the third owner who purchased this car in 2017, again for a reasonable amount of money, and would have kept it for approximately 6 years, would have definitely got this car serviced. There is no way someone is buying a Range Rover and not servicing this car. My gut told me that there potentially will be some paperwork for this car, because the service book might be only stamped up to 2017, but that doesn't mean it hasn't been serviced after. There could be invoices, there could be more paperwork from 2017 onwards. So that was another reason. And the last reason why I went for this car is on the essential check report, there was a yellow marker for engine smoking. Now, if you know a bit about Range Rovers from this era, it's quite common that they are smoky as they get on. And 2 of those common faults are EGR valve, or there could be a split in the turbo hose, meaning the car will be a little bit smoky. But what that meant for me bidding is that I'm probably going to get this car very, very cheap. The cap clean for this car was over £2,000, and in my head I decided I will bid £1,250 for this car. So when it came through, it started at £1,200. I just put one bid in, which was £1,250, and I won the car. Because of course there are some fees involved from the auction, meaning the car ended up costing me just over £1,500. So now I've won the car, I've gone to Enfield where the auction was to go collect the car. A little bit nervous, of course, you know, buying an old Range Rover from an auction. The only issue I had was that the battery was flat. No biggie, got the car jump started, and I haven't had any issues since, but had a quick look around the car, jumped inside, got it started, and was pleasantly surprised with the way it started. Gave it a few revs and I couldn't see any smoke coming from the exhaust, so I thought, whatever it is, it can't be so bad. Now, let's get on to the journey back. That's where I picked up on a couple of issues which we're gonna have to look at getting rectified. So the first issue obviously is to do with the engine smoking. Now, when the car's under load, you know, on the motorway doing an overtake, for example, you put your foot flat, you can see a bit of smoke coming out the rear. Not a disgusting amount of smoke, but enough to know that there is an issue. So in the next video, I am going to get the car taken to the garage to get it inspected, find out what those faults are on the car. But even still, it wasn't affecting the drive. The other issue which I found on this car is when you got to a certain speed or you were driving slightly inclined, around 70 miles an hour, you get a shake in the steering wheel. It doesn't feel like wheel balancing to me. It feels more mechanical, you know. It feels like it could be drive shaft, prop shaft. I don't know, I'm not a mechanic, but it just doesn't feel like it's going to be wheel balancing. So in the next video, when I take this car to get inspected, we're gonna have to address those issues because I don't feel comfortable driving this car on the motorway with that shakiness. And also, as the car is smoking, it's not something which I wanna be driving around long term. I'd like to get it rectified so I can drive this car properly and use it. And then once I got the car back home, I decided to go through all the paperwork and just get a better understanding of this car. And as expected, what did I find? Loads of paperwork, even after 2017. So even though the auction house said there is no service history after 2017, I found a handful of paperwork, with the most recent service being in 2023. And the best thing was, there was a lot of invoices for just various bits of work done to the cars, even down to the receipts for the tires, the brakes, various other invoices of just things that have gone wrong with this car over the years, but have been rectified. It was good to see it had those invoices in there. And I've also got 3 sale receipts from when this car was sold. So in 2009, this car was sold for 35 grand. In 2017, it was sold for around £12,000. And in 2023, it was sold for about £5,000. So the fact that I've still got those 3 sale receipts just goes to show the type of people that have owned this car. Very comprehensive folder, very well documented service history. It all just gives a better insight into the types of owners who've had this vehicle. The only suspect thing potentially is the last owner, which was a lady owner, but it was for a short amount of time, and I just feel that the window tints is more of a recent thing on the car. So what are the plans for this car and on this channel? Well, it is a work car for me, not just for YouTube, but also my daily business. So this will be a car which I'm going to be using every single day, and I want to document what it's like owning an old, high-ish mileage Range Rover. What sort of problems do you run into? How much do things cost? What is it like just fueling a 3.6 Tdv8? The road tax on this car is an absolute £700 or £800 a year. So it's going to be interesting to see what it's like in the real world to run one of these old Range Rovers. So it just made sense. I've always wanted one. My 7 Series is gone. You guys love Range Rovers on the channel, so it just makes perfect sense to document my ownership with this car over the next few months. So that is the plan with this car on the channel. But guys, if there is anything specific you want to see with these L322 Range Rovers on the channel, comment down below and let me know. I would love to hear your ideas and even just learn more about these cars. So if you do have any great ideas, feel free guys, comment down below. But on that note guys, I'm going to end today's video here. As I said, this is going to be a series. In the next video, we're going to get the car inspected, look underneath it and see if we have any other major problems on the Range Rover. So if you do want to see more content on this Range Rover, hit that subscribe button now. If you've enjoyed today's video, smash up that like button. But as always guys, thank you so much again for watching, and I'm going to see you on the next one. Take care guys.